and I didn't know if I was gonna have a job, when this was gonna end. Sometimes it feels like it's never going to end. And I decided to quarantine with my grandma in Michigan.
I was someone who was intentionally overworking myself. I was very aware that my schedule was too full. I was seeing more clients in a day than I knew I wanted to. I was working long hours. I was drinking a lot of coffee. I was drinking alcohol after work to wind down. All of that distraction that comes with this job, all the talking, the interacting, one client overlapping another, it's highly overstimulating work. And I liked it. It fed me, and I know that it nourishes a lot of hairstylists in a similar way. And something that I realized over the course of the year as I stopped working altogether was that I was using that distraction to literally keep myself from feeling uncomfortable feelings. I was lost in various addictive patterns, and overworking was certainly at the forefront of that.
A few months prior to COVID, I was fortunate enough to set myself up in a sweet environment. I brought my clients into the spring education space and started seeing them regularly there. And that worked out to be very fortunate because once the quarantine stopped and the shutdown stopped and we were able to get back to work, being able to work in a one-on-one environment it felt much more controllable and safer, and clients and myself, we all felt much more comfortable because there was a trust that it was always going to be a one-on-one situation. And so that was very beneficial, as opposed to some of the stresses that I hear about in larger salons and having to partition workspaces and cut down hours and only see certain clients, which impacts a lot of things financially. And
one of the other things is just the stress, I would say, of maintaining, making sure that everybody's safe, making sure that you're doing what you need to do to keep your stylist safe, keep yourself safe, and also the clients are really trusting you to keep them safe, kind of like stop yourself and refrain from hugging and things like that. So that's tough. And then with new clients, it's hard kind of getting to vibe with them through a mask.
Yeah.
Because it's like they don't really get to see who you are or really know who you are. And you don't really, if I was to walk past one of them, on the street, I wouldn't even know who they are because, we're conversing through a mask. So it's difficult. When you're just looking at somebody's eyes, you think you know what they look like, but you really don't get a real feel for who they are or what they look like with the mask on.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like the mask will drop for whatever reason for them to take a sip of water or something, and you're like, oh my goodness, like, it's a completely different than, than what you envisioned, before that.
It's a whole different look. The PPE and the social distancing, it's kind of brought a whole level of anxiety to a situation. And as much as we don't want to look at it as anxiety, it kind of is, COVID-19 is like the dark cloud in the room that looms over us. And as positive as we can be about it, it's just, we are all trying to be careful, and we are all living in this careful world now. At the end of March, early April, my inbox, and I'm sure yours was too, was flooded with cancellations, postponements, reschedulings from all of my brides. I was doing 2 to 3 weddings a weekend, and then I had none. I was doing bridal trials on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays while my children were at school, and overnight I had none. My children were also home with me now because school's remote. A positive that I found I will take with me forever. I found myself at one time doing so many people. And I have an incredible assistant, Jackie, and we would plow through 10 people and everyone would look amazing and we would get it done. And with these smaller weddings though, I find myself being able to take so much more time with my clients. I want to take a piece of this slow life with me, and I don't want to be overbooked. I don't want to be overworked. and I want to value my clients and have quality over quantity, if that makes sense.
Before the coronavirus, I was a hairdresser working out of a commissioned salon, high volume, double booked all the time, very successful. And after the coronavirus, coming back to work for me was very stressful because, being around a lot of people in a small area really made me uncomfortable. Just having like all those people in the salon, it gave me a lot of anxiety. So going forward, I made the decision that it was time for me to leave my job where I was and to move on to renting a chair and kind of doing my own thing. And you know what, it was scary, especially during this time, because you're not sure of, our client's gonna follow, our client's still gonna continue to even come and get their hair done. Is it a necessity? Is it like a want? Is it a need? All these things go through your mind. But I have to say, the coronavirus actually has benefited me as an independent stylist now working in a small salon, because I only take people one-on-one. So once you sit in my chair, somebody else is not coming back to it, and then you're coming back to it. And I have to say, my clients love it. Anybody could, put color on, anybody could do a haircut, anybody could do that type of stuff. But especially nowadays, I think it's all about the experience, I just want to make sure that, throughout all of this, that people still want to come, and get their hair done. I think it's super important, for us to look good and feel good.
COVID's been an interesting thing. I've suffered from anxiety, depression, and panic attacks for the last maybe 4 years. And it seems like when it all kind of really kicked off in March, around that time, I did what it took mentally to kind of keep myself moving in different steps, to really find a way to counterattack it in its own little way. It seems like, sadly, that the things I went through the last few years kind of prepared me for what was to come. There's a lot of sadness around us. There's a lot of happiness, though, at the same time. See a lot of families come together, especially like myself. You start embracing the little things. You start to acknowledge, your neighbors more, checking in on each other. It's important. It's allowed us to kind of really step back and really see the love that's out there that generate each other. And what we got to do is really just take these deep breaths and really, really center ourselves and ground ourselves. There's so much going on, and it's so easy to get pulled away in its own sense. Some clients are just very, very great, very appreciative of things, but you got a few of those that are out there that are just very spewing just tons of negativity, no showing, canceling appointments left to right. And I understand, depending on the situation, but at the same time, we're risking it just like everybody else.
And as far as the negatives go, I would say, getting the tests every couple weeks is kind of annoying. I'd rather do it than not do it. And, I was driving home last night and I was like, oh, this gross feeling in my throat from the disinfectant all day long. But, I just think that I feel really blessed that I can give a place where people can still, go to experience joy. I also think that being an empath, it is a little bit taxing at times, absorbing everyone's emotional energy. I think that can be draining, but I just wear tourmaline every day.
So fortunately, coronavirus came at a good time for me. I was most certainly about to experience burnout. I was most certainly putting my 110% at work and putting 50% of me at home, not focusing on the things I needed to do for myself, crafting, being able to work out, cook normal meals, and just be able to just be a person when I get home. Unfortunately, I was just to a point where I was so physically and mentally exhausted that I needed to take that time for me. So I got that time. I got 6 months off and took time to just rest and work out and take walks and get back into crafting and painting and sculpting and the things that I was not making time for beforehand.
I'm a hairstylist from Philly originally, but I moved here to New York in September. One of the little silver linings of the whole COVID situation is that rent is really cheap, so here I am. The time just being at home and kind of being forced into solitude, more or less, really allowed me to think about what matters and what I want out of a future in this industry. And it really made me think about how much I value consistency and some form of structure. I think as artists we kind of teeter between how much we love or dislike structure. I think it serves a purpose for sure. So to kind of have even a degree of normalcy, being back to somewhat of a working schedule has been nice. I think before I was really inclined to project and worry about the future and what I had or hadn't done up to a certain point. And I will say that this time kind of being still has allowed me to free myself a little bit from that. I think we've all kind of realized that everything is super impermanent. It was hard not to feel like I was furthering myself every day, especially still being an apprentice. You put in that work every single day to keep moving up and elevating. If you're in a salon, you want to get to a chair. If you're doing session work, you want to be out in the field making those connections. It all snowballs and leads to more opportunities. And because those weren't happening, I started to feel like, am I going to have to find something alternate, something that will not be so heavily dependent on these social situations or being in a specific environment every single day. But ultimately, I came out of the pandemic, the lockdown, feeling even more fortified in what I do. So
who I hang around with has always been a priority, but really time and being true to myself and spending it with the people I love and having more fun. I mean, Lambs and Wolves was based on fun, art, hair, and a little bit of weirdness and wrong. And we're going to continue to do that, even amplified.
Maybe a negative thing that's happening with a lot of other salons is that people were scared to work at bigger salons, so salon stylists have moved to be more independent and doing solo suites. But for me, I didn't lose any staff. We kind of brought us closer, I think, because we all bonded over missing being around people. I think that the salon now is one of the only places where people can go and be touched still, and we're safe, but you miss the personal touch. And some people come in and they're just working remotely, and this is the only interaction they're getting. So I want to make it as positive and fun as possible. I think that slowing down a little bit and taking more time has been actually, at first you were nervous about it because you're like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do as many clients, but it actually worked out better. I feel like you can do better work. It's less stressful. Having people wait in their car is kind of nice too.
Unfortunately, some folks have lost their jobs or their jobs have been kind of scaled down or furloughed, or they're zooming into work, which kind of seems to have translated into you don't need to be as meticulous about your appearance if you're only zooming in, or if you never see your coworkers. So people seem to have, realistically added a few weeks in between appointments, space things out a little bit more. So there is some lulls in the schedule now, but unfortunately, I think it's because people are just in adverse situations or in situations where they don't have to take the personal care that they used to. And maybe there might be some financial impacts too. And this has been a challenging thing for everyone. We've all been financially impacted, and I think we're starting to see the ripples of that.
One thing COVID's done is speed up some of the evolutionary processes that all industries across the board have been seeing as far as how they structure their internal affairs and management, and how people interact with one another within that business. I believe things are probably going to move in a more horizontal and a less vertical direction. I think cooperatives, collectives, more transparency, and less top-down ownership structures are going to become more and more prevalent.
In 2019, we're looking into 2020 to add more people into the mix, to have it be more lively, more energetic. And then due to COVID, we basically blew up that idea and started the process of rebuilding our dream. So that has been financially tough, as well as just emotionally tough, to let go of this one thing that we were building towards, that we were so close to coming to fruition, to making the tough decision as well. I believe a good decision to let go of that idea and let go of that dream, to have it be more of a tailored, one-on-one studio experience, and having less bodies in here.
Although it was a little bit difficult to find the silver lining behind all of this, I think that, the happiness that I can give to people right now is really special in the form of art. I think that I feel really lucky that I have a job. I think I have an incredible support team behind me, and I think it's also professionally brought a sense of clarity to why I do the things I do, and it really kind of comes down to helping people and love, and that's it.
I moved out here to San Francisco from Long Beach to work at Edo, and I moved here a week before Shelter in Place, the first one. So that was absolutely insane. So that first shutdown was like scarier to me, because I didn't know if I was gonna have a job to come back to, and then but I got to hang out with my family, and that was nice. And then we don't really get a lot of, I think we got like 2 days heads up, and it was like, okay, you can open up the salon. So I had to pack my bags and come back to San Francisco right away, and just jump right in there. We're slammed. Every day slammed, which was great. It's we went from okay, nothing, it's back to just all in there. So, and I knew it was gonna be like that, and it was gonna be like that again, I'm sure. And it's really exciting to do hair again, and we've all of us, you're sitting with yourself, and you really, I don't know, I feel like we're all kind of changing and becoming better people, and we've seen a lot of crazy stuff during these times, and I know around here people are already really sweet and good humans, and we're going to come back here, and we get to decide who do we want to be, who do we want to present to the world, and I get to be a part of that.
Unfortunately, like most, I lost someone, and it was a brutal few weeks, but that is my most negative side to the coronavirus, is watching my loved ones and watching friends and family and my clients suffer from people they've lost or are sick and couldn't help them and couldn't even see them. So that is most certainly my most negative side of this, but my positives are big. I was able to open up my own suite, Nicole's Beauty Nook. I've been open since June, and my clientele has been just the most perfect bunch. I've been beyond busy, and truly this time has made me realize the time I needed to prioritize for myself, the time I need to take away from work, the time I choose not to answer clients, and just setting up those boundaries for myself. This was truly a year of growth, and just it's been humbling.